Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this student experience session on study abroad through Syracuse University. We know there's a lot happening at this time of year, so we're very appreciative that you're spending some time in your evening to join us today. My name is Lisa Rainey. I'm an admissions officer here at Syracuse, and I'm joined by, as you can see, a number of wonderful colleagues who are here to tell you more about the many opportunities that we have for students here at Syracuse. So we'll have a chance to really hear from everyone in the group today. First, my colleagues Jessica and Tammy will be behind the scenes to answer your questions. Some of those we may save for the end, but you can use that Q&A box to send us questions, and we'll either do a text chat in response to you there, or we'll wait and have a really robust Q&A discussion at the end. We know that many of you are joining us this evening. We actually have more than 340 students signed up. So if we don't get to your questions during this 1 hour session, don't worry. Maria will be sharing her contact information at the end of the presentation. So you can definitely stay in touch with us, and we'll make sure all of those questions get answered if we're not able to this evening, certainly within the next few days. So I'm joined by my colleagues from Syracuse Abroad. We have the director of Syracuse Abroad, Eric Wilkins, and then Maria, who's joining us as well to really share their experiences, as well as two Syracuse students who have studied abroad as well. We have Bailey, I'm scrolling through our Zoom box here, and Kaitlyn, who are current Syracuse students who have studied abroad as well. So you can see them waving in the boxes here. So we'll go ahead and get started. Erica is going to share some remarks. She is the director at Syracuse Abroad and can really share some background, some history. We have a beautiful and illustrious history of Syracuse study abroad, and we're excited that you're interested in taking advantage of those opportunities. So I'll hand it to Erica.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Welcome, everybody. We are delighted in your interest in Syracuse Studies Abroad options. And this evening, you're going to learn a lot about what those options are and what they entail. To get us started, I'm going to basically go through three things at a high level. What is studying abroad? Why do it? And why do it with Syracuse University? As Lisa mentioned, I'm the executive director of Syracuse University Study Abroad offerings, which means I oversee all of our offerings, and we send more than 2,000 students abroad on average every year. I myself have lived and worked in many countries globally, including almost 10 years in Istanbul, Turkey, as the director of Syracuse's program there, which is no longer operating, but was a wonderful program when it was up. And so I know what it means firsthand to be on the ground with students as a teacher, as an exploration guide, and as a safety net when things don't always go the way you had hoped. So I hope I can bring to you both the kind of broader perspective of all of our study abroad offerings, as well as a real personal experience being on the ground, traveling and teaching and caring for students. So what is studying abroad? Really, it's an opportunity to spend any duration of time, several weeks, a full semester, or even several semesters in another country, pursuing your studies in your chosen field while opening your mind to all of the possibilities of a different culture, different people, different way of doing and thinking about things. It is travel and exploration, but it is not tourism. So on Syracuse Study Abroad programs, you'll be given opportunities and tools to become what I like to call a temporary local, to go way beyond being a tourist and to learn what it is to really live, learn, and explore, and importantly, make friends in a different culture. All of our courses help to engage you with the country, the region you're in. And what's interesting about this is that you get a real comparative perspective. By learning about somewhere else, you also better understand where you come from and what your society, your culture, your country, your politics, your histories are like. We also offer really exciting local internships and field study and research opportunities. Imagine an internship working with a local company or organization in London or Madrid or Florence. We also have exciting planned field trips to get behind the scenes and to see things in a way that tourists very rarely can, because you're meeting and being revealed, you're getting things revealed to you from local experts who really understand the true stories behind things and the hidden secrets of the place in which they live. And of course, very importantly, in addition to the academic and experiential learning opportunities, are the adventures and experiences that you'll have independently, and the opportunities to build lifelong friendships with both your Syracuse cohort as well as international and local students. So why study abroad? For a long time, study abroad was considered kind of a luxury add-on for a privileged few. At Syracuse University, we're making every effort to have study abroad be an opportunity for all of our students, including financial aid opportunities, as well as opportunities for students for whom their disciplines sometimes make it more challenging, or athletes who have trouble studying abroad. There's a serious commitment at Syracuse University to facilitating the study abroad experience for all students who are interested. And study abroad is more important than ever to gain a better understanding of the complex world we live in, and to better succeed once you graduate, and ideally for you to become a leader in helping affect positive change to address some of the challenges that we domestically in the United States and globally face as global communities and citizens. This means a deeper academic understanding of your discipline, critical opportunities for personal growth, more independence, capacity to cope with uncertainty, ability to affect positive change. And importantly, the skills you learn while studying abroad are increasingly critical to professional success in whatever field you choose once you graduate. So finally, I just want to talk about why it might be worth doing this with Syracuse University. Most universities have study abroad opportunities, but Syracuse is really unique among most universities and colleges in having its own study abroad centers, kind of satellite campuses as you were, as well as partner opportunities. And our own centers have Syracuse faculty and staff, which helps to ensure the highest quality and customized programming in line with your studies if you're at Syracuse University. Syracuse Abroad is also nationally recognized for this, for its excellence in education abroad programs. This year, Syracuse ranked #7 in study abroad in the United States by US News and World Report. And we've been doing this for a long time. Our Florence Center, for example, is more than 60 years old. Our London and Madrid centers are coming up on their 50th anniversaries, and we have decades of experience in our other locations. Why is this important? It's important for a lot of reasons, but one of the most important is that when you've been in a location for that long, you build really deep local connections. And as all of you know from your own communities, who you know, the network that you have, the connections that you have is really important in terms of support structures and the opportunities that you're able to offer to students when they're on the ground. We also provide really rigorous academics and truly immersive insights into the local culture, off the beaten path experiences through these long histories and networks. And finally, I think, especially in these really uncertain times of turmoil, Syracuse Abroad embodies and is nationally recognized for the highest standards of student safety and support. And this is really extra important in times where globally there's so much uncertainty, and we've really got the students' best interests at heart. So we're not hand-holding and carrying students through an experience. We're ensuring that they have the tools, the resources, and safety net to go out and become independent and to learn and explore on their own in a way that will serve them lifelong. So I'm just thrilled that you've joined us for this opportunity to learn in more detail what our study abroad programs are at Syracuse University and what the opportunities are for you as students to go out and explore when you come to study at this university. So I'm now delighted to introduce my colleague and our wonderful campus outreach manager, Maria Del Mar Aponte, who's going to take over and give you more insights. Thank you again for taking the time this evening.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I will go over fast facts that have been mentioned. I just wanted to kind of, retouch on those. And I will then go into detail with some of our centers. And you will also get to talk to some of our global ambassadors and their program alumni that have gone abroad through us and are more than happy to tell you about their experience and are happy to talk to their peers once they're back on campus. So as previously mentioned, right, our Florence Center has been operating now for over 60 years. On average, only about 10% of students in the United States actually study abroad during their undergraduate careers, which means that definitely studying abroad and taking a part in this experience through Syracuse University helps you stand out. We are so proud to say that at Syracuse University, about 55% of our students actually go abroad during their time here. This can be in a program, as mentioned, during a semester, a whole academic year, a couple of semesters, or our shorter term programs over the summer. So we definitely have a variety of different opportunities for our students to take advantage of and to make sure that they go through this experience here at Syracuse University. That evens out to over 2,000 students going abroad through Syracuse University every year. And as mentioned, we are so proud to say that we have ranked number 7 in study abroad in the US News and World Report rankings. So thinking about Syracuse Abroad around the world, these are some of your options at a glance. So some of the places that you might consider going abroad. We have 5 Syracuse Center programs, and our Syracuse Center programs are a great opportunity to study abroad. I would consider these almost as an extension of Syracuse University. So you would imagine we have these buildings in the 5 different locations where we have academic support, student life support. We have a director and assistant director in all of our centers, and faculty and staff, all from part of Syracuse University. In addition to this, we wanted to provide students a variety of locations that they could potentially take a part in. So we also have over 60 world partner programs that you can take a part of. And every summer we have over 30 summer programs, as well as some unique theme-based programs. So as you can see, we have over 100 options in 60 different countries that you could potentially take a part in if you chose to come to Syracuse University and be a part of their Syracuse Abroad programming. And I wanted to touch a little bit more on why studying abroad. So why is it so important to study abroad in the world we live in today? One important aspect of going abroad is that you become a global citizen. So you develop cultural sensitivity and awareness of cultural differences by being abroad in our different programs that we offer. In addition to that, we also have a strong commitment to cultural immersion, therefore making you feel like a local when you're there. You can do this through host families, taking part in local housing, or being a part of our field studies programs. In addition to that, you can develop foreign language skills. So if you're already learning a foreign language that we teach abroad, this is a great way to really immerse yourself in the culture and the language on a daily basis. Having communications and having conversations with your homestay families at night and just practicing that language every day. One other benefit is to develop cross-cultural communication skills. And these are paramount in the future that you might want in your life. So whether it be in your job, returning to campus and being in different courses, but it is definitely a very useful skill to have. In addition to that, we have academic skills. So we make sure that our programs develop a lot of real world application. For example, if you are taking art history in Florence, Italy, you have the opportunity to visit the Uffizi Museum, which is only about a 15-minute walk from our Villa Rosa in Florence. In addition to that, we have a lot of personal growth that our students report having when they go abroad, whether that be becoming a more independent person or just adaptability in different situations. And finally, our professional opportunities. Having the opportunities to partake in an internship experience is absolutely monumental. You get to develop, your global networking skills and build your resume during your time abroad. I will now talk a little bit more about our Syracuse Abroad programs. Looking at our center programs, we have center programs in 5 locations: Santiago, Chile, Madrid, Spain, London, England, Strasbourg, France, and Florence, Italy. We also have an amazing traveling fall-only theme-based program called Exploring Central Europe, where you're actually based out of Wrocław, Poland, and you get the opportunity to travel through the Czech Republic, Hungary, Germany, Austria, and Slovakia during your time abroad. So if you're asking yourself, what does a semester at our centers look like? So a semester at our centers typically begins with a traveling signature seminar where required. And this is a 10 to 14-day course to begin your program. It's a great way to kind of start to acclimate yourself with being in a new location, making friends if you're if you're going on your own to study abroad, but also just acclimate yourself and be able to, have some understanding of what it means to be in a new location. And you also get to get 3 credits by taking part in this program. Looking at our courses offered. So as mentioned, we also offer flexibility across majors. For that reason, we have a variety of courses covering most disciplines. They are offered in English or in the local language. Looking at language courses, you have the ability to keep learning Spanish, French, or Italian. If you're looking to go to our Madrid center, our Florence or our Strasbourg center, you actually don't need to speak the language before going there, but you will be required to take a local language course while you're there to help you navigate your daily conversations in the different countries. Looking at housing, so we have the opportunity for students to live with host families, in residence halls, in apartments or flats, depending on the location. I guarantee you though that all of these experiences will add to your cultural immersion. Also, we have the opportunity for you to direct enroll in different opportunities. So you can take courses at a local university that we have partnerships with. Finally, our internships. This is one of the most amazing parts of being in one of our centers. You get to partake into an internship if you choose to do so, and they range between corporate to small business, community-based, or NGOs. Looking at our World Partner Program, so we wanted to expand the number of opportunities that we have available for our students. And as a result, we've partnered with different programs around the world where students can either direct enroll at a local university or exchange program, be a part of another center-based program, a hybrid, or a field-based program. One important part to note is that you get the opportunity to study alongside local and international students. If you're a student interested in discovering the Film Studies program in Prague, if you're studying science and technology, we have some great programs in Australia. So on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the additional locations that we have for students to consider going abroad. In addition to our semester and year-long programs, we also have summer and short-term programs. As we mentioned, we are wanting to afford students flexibility across majors. And with that comes our opportunity to also have a study abroad experience that's meaningful and significant, whether it be through our summer program or our short-term programs. Our summer programs happen every summer, over 30 of them. They range between 3 to 9 credits and 2 to 9 weeks. We have center-based summer sessions in Florence, Madrid, and London. We have some special ones that you can go to with a faculty-led program. We have some internships as well. One special program is the French for Diplomacy program in our Strasbourg, France program as well. We also have our short-term programs, and these are actually taken in conjunction with select classes on campus. So you would take a class, and then after the class is completed, you get to travel for 1 to 3 weeks, visiting places that you learned about in the class. One really important program that we have coming up this summer 2021 is an environment, sustainability, and policy in Costa Rica. If you didn't know, Costa Rica is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, and it's a global leader in establishing policies to address some of the most pressing environmental issues facing our world today. As a result, these complex issues are shaped by both human and natural factors and interconnected with everything from the global economy to local cultural practices. Students who take this short course will meet with policy and civil society leaders and learn more about how Costa Rica has developed its policies, current circumstances, and future challenges. So as I mentioned, right, our students have over 100 options in 60 different countries that they could potentially think about for going abroad. Well, we can actually help students make the decision of what locations might best serve their interests, starting with their academics. So we always tell students, please make sure you look at classes available abroad. How can you fulfill degree requirements, and what electives can you take? Thinking about a destination. So where would you like to live for a semester year? What cultures are you interested in experiencing? Looking at the language program. So what language do you want to learn abroad, or are there any requirements? What are your personal goals? We're looking for students to obviously have a holistic experience going abroad. So what are your interests? What are things that you would also like to see and do in your host country? Thinking about community engagement. Are you looking to do an internship or a service learning opportunity or a field study while abroad? And finally, your comfort zone. So how far outside of your comfort zone would you like to go? We know at times this might be a little challenging, but a lot of growth happens when you step outside of your comfort zone. As I mentioned, we foster flexibility across majors. So these are only some program recommendations based on academic specialties and course offerings. This is in no means an exhaustive list, but it's just to give you an opportunity to understand the flexibility that we have within all of our centers and our different majors on campus. Financing studying abroad. So as mentioned, we always have a strong commitment to make financial aid an important part of going abroad and making study abroad accessible to our students. You get to meet with your financial aid advisor, discuss your financial aid package, look at other study abroad grants, Syracuse Abroad named scholarships, and summer financial aid that we have available for you to apply for. In addition to that, we always tell students to consider external grants and scholarships. We have the Center for Scholarship and Advising on campus, and they are more than happy to help students develop really strong scholarship essays that will make them a competitive applicant. And I would actually now to take the time to introduce our global ambassadors. We have Bailey Davis and Kaitlyn McCoy, and they will actually be able to tell you a little bit more about their time abroad. You know, why did they study abroad? Support they had from our staff while abroad, their memorable experiences, and their homestay family experiences. I'll have Bailey Davis go first.
Hey guys, I'm Bailey. I am currently a sophomore here at Syracuse. I'm majoring in international relations and economics, and I was part of the discovery program here at Syracuse. So I studied abroad in Florence, Italy, my first semester here. And so why did I study abroad? I actually, during that time, so like after I graduated high school, I was going through a very like, I guess, spontaneous phase of my life, and I really wanted to like go to Europe and see the world and everything, and this was the perfect opportunity for me to do that right out of high school. As far as support from staff while abroad, the staff were amazing. They were so helpful, especially with homesickness and everything. They were a great support system in general. The counselor and head of affairs in Florence, her name is Amy Klein. She's amazing. She's so nice. She was kind of like the mama bear for all the freshmen there. So that was really cute. And I think that my most memorable experience while I was abroad was going on the history of art field trip that I went on with my class. We went to Rome and we saw the Colosseum and all the amazing art pieces there. And it was just like, everything was coming full circle. It was like the cherry on top to the class. It was amazing. And I also loved my homestay. I stayed with a single mom. Her name was Sylvia. And we had an older sister. Her name was Juditha. And it was a great way to like get acclimated with the environment. She'd take us on shopping trips all the time, and I love shopping, so that was perfect. And it was just a great way to learn the language too. We'd always speak Italian. Her cooking was amazing. It was a great experience overall. So yes.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Kaitlyn McCoy, and I am a senior that majors in information management and technology in the School of Information Studies. Why did I study abroad? I wanted to study abroad. I knew I wanted to study abroad when I was in high school, so I really wanted to try and find a college when I was applying that really tailored to what I wanted in a study abroad program, and I found Syracuse. So I studied abroad last spring 2020, to Strasbourg, France. I really chose Strasbourg because I'm really interested in French culture. I really am interested in learning more about the language. I had taken it in high school, and my first 2 years of college, so I really wanted to kind of build off of that. So I found that Strasbourg would be the best opportunity for me to do so, and I'm so glad that I chose Strasbourg because I loved every second that I spent there. Um, Support from staff while I was abroad. So obviously, COVID is the elephant in the room and a huge trigger word to students who studied abroad because I was abroad when COVID hit. But the transition out of Europe and headed back home to America was so smooth because of the staff. I was super engaged with them and I felt super welcomed by them in my time that I was there. And even when I was sent home, they were so supportive of everything. They really supplied us all the help that we needed in order to get home safe. And even when we did get home, they were still checking in with us to make sure everything that happened was okay and that we still ended up having a great time abroad. My most memorable experience. Honestly, all of abroad was so memorable and I would do it over a million times if I could. But something that sticks out to me is during the signature seminar, a huge group of people in my abroad group walked to the Eiffel Tower. It was when the metro system was down in Paris. So we walked about 3 miles to get to the Eiffel Tower, but I would do it over again. I would take back all the blisters just to do it over again because I had an amazing experience and the Eiffel Tower was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Um, and my homestay family experience. So I was super nervous to go abroad just because I had never left the country before. I literally got my passport for abroad. Um, so I was nervous about living in someone else's home and feeling like I would be a stranger in someone else's home, but the complete opposite is what happened. I felt so welcomed and valued and really became a part of my family's routine. I lived with excuse me, I lived with just an older woman who was a retired French professor, which was super valuable for me because I was really able to touch up on my French. And she taught me so many new words that I really ended up using all the time. And I would come home and be like, I used the word you taught me today. So that was super valuable to me. And I love my abroad experience and I would do it over a million times if I could.
Hey, actually, Kaitlyn, could you talk a little bit about your coursework that you did in Strasbourg and so how that stands out and is a little bit different from being on campus?
Yes, so like I mentioned, I'm in the iSchool, which is the School of Information Studies on campus. And before heading abroad, I wanted to talk with my school advisors to make sure I was still able to take the courses that I needed in order to graduate on time. And we decided that it was really valuable and important for me to take as many electives abroad as I could. So in addition to the signature seminar, which was a 3-credit 10-day experience in the beginning of the semester, I took a lot of electives. I took a literature course, a philosophy course, and French, of course, and a policy studies class, which all counted as electives for me. So it was an amazing way to get 15 credits out of the way for my electives. And mainly on campus, I try and take classes that are for my major. So it was kind of nice to get a little breather from that.
Bailey, can you also tell us a little bit more about how it was to immerse yourself in the Italian culture when you were in Florence? What are some things that stand out for you?
I guess with Italian culture, I feel like the easiest way to immerse myself was eating the food because there's so much of it and it's so good and cooking is like an art. It's like so yeah, and I think that because I took an Italian class, like an Italian language class, that was very, very helpful for like my day-to-day getting around, and it really helped me connect with a lot of people and a lot of locals, which is great. And I think that understanding and like taking the history of art course that I took and like understanding the art, the history, and like especially about the Renaissance, I think that really helped me learn about Florence culture specifically, since it is the heart of the Renaissance. You know, it's like every street is a different art piece. So it's like everywhere you look, there's art. Everywhere you look, there's culture, there's history. So I think that it was especially easy to immerse myself in Italy.
Kaitlyn, I'll have you answer the same question about how you were able to culturally immerse yourself in Strasbourg, France?
Yeah, so I think a huge reason why it was such a really great transition for me into abroad was due to the, like I mentioned, the signature seminar where were able to travel to 4 different countries in 10 days prior to even stepping foot in Strasbourg. So I was really able to get a feel for a culture other than my own so quickly. So I think that really helped shape me into what was going to be the next couple of months abroad. And then when I did step foot in Strasbourg, everyone in the staff was so welcoming that I kind of felt like I was at home in the first place. And my host mom was so gracious and so kind, and she was so willing to take me out to different places and show me different grocery stores and just walk around town with me so I could feel like welcomed and see things from her perspective. So I think really being able to see things from a different point of view and really adapt to different cultures was the best part for me.
I may just jump in here for a moment. I see there are a number of questions coming in the chat, so we're kind of feverishly typing answers as fast as we can. We do have a few questions specifically for Bailey about the Discovery Program, so I wanted to kind of delegate a few of those. We have a few questions about, did you feel like you were missing out being away for the fall semester? What was that transition like coming back to campus in the spring? You know, sort of how did your credits fit into that second semester experience that you had? Bailey, if you could talk about a few of those questions, and then we've got lots more coming in as well.
Yeah, of course. So obviously I spent my first semester in college in a different country, and coming to Syracuse in the middle of winter was kind of tough. But as far as like socially and academically, the transition was pretty smooth. I think that the most important factor for me was getting involved in like on campus activities and like joining clubs and finding new people or finding interests that I'm into, and like I'd make a friend through that. So I think that was the most important thing for me about that. And then what was the other question about credits?
Sure. So we have a few questions about credits sort of fitting in, and this is actually a question for the group, maybe not just Discovery students, but how do academic credits fit into your academic plan? And then also specifically with Discovery, are you still friends with your Discovery cohort? You know, what was that transition like as you come back and kind of make new friends across campus?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the credits transfer. I don't really know if there's like an issue with that, but I think that they should transfer. And as far as like the Discovery cohort, yeah, there were 7 of us. So there weren't a lot of people, but it made it a lot easier to like have that core group. And we still hang out on campus. Like my best friend went abroad with me that semester and we're roommates right now. So I think that kind of speaks to how close we've gotten through that experience. There's also a question about where am I from? I'm from Chicago. um, yeah, I think there was another question.
Yeah, well, while we work through, there are a lot of them coming in. Maria, would you like to talk about credits and how they work through Syracuse centers versus maybe World Partner programs? Just so students understand, it won't make them take longer to have a study abroad experience.
Yeah, no. So actually, for our center programs, we do have a list of our courses already on our webpage for each one of our centers. And so what we always tell students is that you want to take that list of courses that you are choosing from and meet with your academic advisor. And they kind of help make sure that these will transfer into your degree, whether it be through an elective, a liberal arts requirement, some major courses. So we always tell students to plan study abroad 6 to 8 months before going so that they can make sure that everything is in place. But you do get credits for all the courses that you take abroad, and they transfer into your degree program. In addition to that, for our world partners, we also have a list of courses that are taken that have been taken and have already been approved on our website. So whenever you go abroad, any course that you take does transfer back and have a credit attached to it. So a student is not to fall behind in their graduation timeline.
Thank you. We have another
If
question.
I just want to add one more small piece to that. And that's that all of the courses are Syracuse courses. So even our world partner courses, so the courses at all of our Syracuse centers, those are Syracuse courses that have Syracuse credit. So they show up on the transcript as Syracuse courses. And the same with our world partner programs, although they're provided by another institution, we carefully vet all of our partners, and all of the courses that are approved through Syracuse University come with Syracuse credit. So it's not a transfer credit per se. It is, if it's approved by, if you and your advisor work together and make it work for your program, it's going to come in as an SU credit and you're good to go.
Thank you, Erica. We have a question about host families, how those families are paired with students when they go abroad. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'll actually let the global ambassadors talk about it in a little bit more detail, but there is an application that you fill out to make sure that we find the best match for you. And it's actually pretty detailed. You have to, you're able to say whether you want homestay, siblings, pets, any food preferences and all those things. So I'm gonna actually I think both Kaitlyn and Bailey had homestay, so I'll let her talk a little bit more about that. And we really encourage students to be as honest as possible on what they want out of this experience with their homestay so that we can best match them. I'll have you go first, Kaitlyn.
Okay, yeah. So when you're applying for abroad within the application, there is a pretty in-depth process of deciphering what host family you will be paired with. It's basically a questionnaire of what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, dietary restrictions. I'm allergic to nuts and cats, so that was something that was really important for me to put on the list, just so I wasn't paired with a family that liked to put nuts in their food or had any pets. It is so important to be so honest on that document, because ultimately that is a huge portion of what pairs you up with your host family. Once I got matched with my host family, I didn't have any problems at all. I felt super comfortable living there. I felt welcomed. I was super engaged. But there is a pretty in detail application. Part of the application that you fill out is an in detail form about what you should expect living with a host family, what you want and what you don't want in a host family, how many, if you want siblings, how large you want the family to be, your level of engagement and involvement within the family are a couple of questions that you should expect to fill out.
Yeah, and just adding a little bit onto that and what Maria Del Mar said, I think it's very important to be very transparent with that. Just to make sure that like you don't end up in a situation like Kaitlyn, if like she said if she didn't mention that she was allergic to nuts or cats or something, that would have been a disaster. And so it's very important to be transparent about your preferences.
And just one more thing that I wanted to know is that we have our partners in our different centers that help pair students with families have done this for quite a number of years. So they're actually, so good at making sure that they choose the perfect family for each student. So they are individually matched. So we definitely put a lot of thought and time into making sure that your homestay part of the experience will be as close to everything that you would like it as possible.
Thanks, everyone. We have a lot of questions coming in, so we'll try to get as many of those answered tonight as we can. Here's a great question. When should students start planning to study abroad so they'll be sure to make that fit into their academic schedule? And some of that might depend if you're looking to do a discovery program in your first semester, or maybe waiting till a little bit later on.
Yeah, so I'll definitely let Kaitlyn talk a little bit about how she planned it out. But in general, we always tell students to plan at least 6 to 8 months before they want to go abroad. But we always encourage students that if you are wanting to go your sophomore or junior year, this is something that you want your academic advisor to know from your first semester here. Especially if you have a major that has some specialized programs abroad that you want to be a part of, you want to make sure that everything is planned out and on track. One example that I can give is that for our engineering programs, we have a specialized program in fall of sophomore year in Strasbourg, France, and we have one the spring of sophomore year in Florence, Italy. So if you are looking to do that, you want to make sure that you plan it ahead of time. And you also want to make sure that you are applying 6 to 8 months before you go, just so that you have your academics in place, finances in place, and then completing your application. So I'll let Kaitlyn talk a little bit about when she decided to go abroad and how she made that decision work for graduating on time.
Yeah, so I studied abroad my junior year, and I always knew that I wanted to study abroad. So incoming freshman year, I did let my advisors know, just so you know, like in 2 years, I do want to go abroad, just so they could have that in the back of their mind. So I kept that in the back of my mind every semester when I was picking out my courses from freshman year up until abroad. And then about, I would say, like, yeah, 6 months, the semester before I went abroad in the beginning, I sat down with my advisor and kind of just wanted to see where I was at with my courses within my major so I could kind of tailor the courses I was taking abroad to my degree and make sure that I was still on track to receive that. So we decided that I should take a lot of electives because I was heavy on major courses, but I needed electives, which was perfect for the courses that are offered for Strasbourg. I did take a philosophy course. I took a literature course, which was like it was actually a film cinema movie class. It was super cool. It was like French films versus Hollywood cinema, and it was super interesting, and I really liked it, and it really got me into French movies. I took a policy studies class, and I took French. So French was something that actually counted towards my major, so that was something that was important to me as well. So that counted towards my major, and just I would really highly advise you to, as soon as you know you want to go abroad, talk to your advisor about it. It's never too soon to talk about it. The worst thing you could do is just like hold it in the back of your brain, but not really vocalize it. Um, I would definitely recommend I mean, advisors are there to advise you. They're there to help you, and they're more than willing to do so. Really help you pick out the best courses so you are able to stay on track and graduate when you need to.
Thank you for that. We have a couple of questions about language fluency. And I think it's important to note that not all of our centers have an expectation that you're fluent in the local language. You know, experience varies depending on what you bring to the table there. But we have a couple of specific questions. You know, is it scary to speak in a new language when you're on the ground? And specifically for Bailey and Kaitlyn, how were you able to really express yourselves in that different country, that different environment? And maybe what was a favorite memory for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to say something really quick, and then I'll have the global ambassadors share, taking the local language courses. I know that Bailey did take that, and they had a lot of excursions throughout the city to practice their language. But thinking about Madrid, Florence, and Strasbourg, you don't need to speak the language before going there, although you will take a local language course, and I think Bailey can speak to that. Our Santiago, Chile program does require you to have 3 semesters of Spanish prior to going there because of the immersive nature of it, and you do spend taking courses at a local institution as well. But I will actually let Bailey and Kaitlyn talk a little bit more about what it was to, take a language if you didn't speak it before, because I'm almost positive that Bailey did not speak Italian before going there. And so tell a little bit more about how she navigated the city and used that class to her benefit. And then Kaitlyn can also talk about their French course as well.
Yeah, so I was laughing because I actually took French in high school and middle school. So going to Italy was like completely different from like the language that I was used to. But I think that like taking that Italian 101 course and being in a homestay and just like having all those opportunities to practice that language were probably the most beneficial for me. And I'm not fluent in Italian at all, but I can say a few words. And I think that, it definitely helped with um, navigating the language and navigating the streets and just learning more about the culture in general. So I think that the language component is very, very important, but I don't think you necessarily have to be scared about like being fluent before you go. It's not a requirement. There's so many people at the centers that help you with the language. There, American people there as well. There are also a lot of people who speak English and will help you um, with navigating the language. So.
Wonderful, thank you. We have a few other questions coming in about kind of homesickness. Did either of you really experience homesickness? I know, especially with discovery groups, they're really small groups, so you kind of work through those things together. And maybe culture shock, if either of you experienced either that feeling of homesickness or culture shock and how you kind of worked through that.
Yeah, I definitely experienced a sort of homesickness, but I really was able to go to the staff at the Strasbourg Center and really chat about that with them, and they were super willing and eager to hear about what home was like for me and what I'm missing. And then they gave me suggestions of places in Strasbourg that I could go to feel that kind of to fill the void of what I was missing from home, and it ended up working out so well. And just realizing that it's okay to be out of your comfort zone, like that's a huge portion of what abroad is. Really just learning your boundaries and where you're willing to step out of them. I came to Syracuse from California, so I am kind of used to a sense of homesickness just because I am so far from home year round. But out of the country was a whole different story. So I definitely understand and did feel homesickness myself, definitely. But I would just recommend talking to the staff at your center because ultimately they are very familiar with how to handle these things, what suggestions to give you, how you can feel a sense of home in your new home while you're abroad, and just build off of that.
Yeah, just to add a little bit onto what Kaitlyn said, personally, I didn't feel super homesick. I was just like excited and like in the moment, like the entire time I was abroad. But there were moments where I did like miss my mom and I'd miss my family. And what helped me was calling them. Like, I'm pretty sure for at least a month, I was on the phone with my mom like once or twice a day. But other than that, the people who work at the centers are very helpful too. I remember talking to Amy about my family and everything, and she was just super helpful. And I'm sure like in the cities you go to, there are like I guess American themed things. I remember one time me and my roommate went to like this American diner in Italy and it was such a weird like ambiance and experience, but it was so fun. And there's so many things you can do to get over homesickness, and I wouldn't really be worried about it. So.
One thing that I did want to add is that this goes back to the support from the staff that you have while you're abroad. You are not alone. We always tell students, please make sure to talk to us. For example, we do have we have events at all of our centers to kind of talk through that, especially if you are feeling homesick. There's ways where you can go and talk to either our student life coordinator, like Amy Klein is a great person to talk to in Florence. Professor Boynton is a great resource in Strasbourg. In London, we do have services for anyone, you know, whether you feel just a little bit homesick, please go and talk to one of our representatives at our center. We are there to kind of help you through that. We expect that people might have homesickness during their time abroad. So please worry not. We are there to support each and every one of you during your abroad time.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes remaining in tonight's chat. So the questions are coming in. We will be sure to share contact information at the very end in case we miss anything this evening. We have a good question on, you know, what to avoid when you study abroad. And the advice I've always heard is avoid kind of staring at your phone too much and being too connected to everyone back home. That's something I've heard. I've definitely heard to pack light. But any other advice you have on things to avoid to really make that the best experience that it can be?
Yeah, I can build off of the don't overpack. So I am kind of an overpacker. So packing for abroad was definitely a struggle for me, but I just kept going through the checklist and made sure that I had everything on the checklist, and that was all that I had. And then when I got abroad, going on like weekend trips, I would definitely recommend if you're going on a weekend trip with your group of friends to share a suitcase to avoid like additional fees or anything. We would pack what we would put in a backpack and then just put it all in a suitcase, and it really saved us a lot of money and made us a lot closer to have all our items together. So I would definitely recommend that. In terms of what to avoid, definitely don't have your, like, just don't look at your phone constantly. It's not something you want to be doing anyway. You're in an amazing, beautiful city and you want to be able to remember it and just like look up and look around and see what's going on. So definitely, just to build off of what you mentioned of those two things, I definitely can second those.
Bailey, do you have anything else to add about what not to do?
Yeah, I agree with Kaitlyn. Definitely do not overpack. That it's always a disaster, and you don't want to end up having to pay for an overweight bag because the fees are ridiculous. And I just say I don't know how to phrase it, but just like put yourself out there. You know what I mean? Like you're in a new country, in a new environment. You don't want to be like, I guess, like a homebody, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like you want to do things, you want to experience the city, you want to talk to new people, meet new people, have amazing experiences. So I would say just do like step out of your comfort zone, basically. Don't like confine yourself to, I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great pieces of advice, definitely. I will make one quick comment before we move on to some other questions that are coming in. We are not doing in-person campus visitation. You'll see that on the slide. Everything is virtual at this point.
Yes.
So we have a number of sessions like this one. So unfortunately, as much as we would love to see you on campus, we're not able to offer that right now, but all kinds of options via Zoom. And we're happy to connect with you by email, phone, all kinds of different ways. But we have a question about World Partner Programs and the housing experience there. Is that a homestay as well, or what does that look like, Maria?
Yeah, so actually our World Partner programs vary by location. For example, some of our programs through DIS in Stockholm or in Sweden, Denmark, you have the opportunity to do a local apartment, maybe live with a homestay family. So it actually varies by location, but a lot of our locations have an option for homestay or to also live with other international students or local students. So it's still an immersive experience, even though it might look a little bit different wherever you go. I actually was going to mention that my email is right on the screen, mdaponte@syr.edu. Any other questions that you might have that we might not get to today, you're welcome to email me about those, especially if you have a specific World Partner program in mind. I can help connect you with the right person and kind of at least give you some preliminary information for that specific program.
Okay, we have one question in the chat box. We have about 6 minutes remaining tonight. So if anyone out there still has questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A and we will address those as many of those as we can in the remaining moments. How competitive are the study abroad programs, Maria? So if a student applies to a specific center, do they typically get that location? You know, what does that process look like from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think that definitely goes along with what Kaitlyn and I mentioned, to plan ahead of time and make sure that you apply. Are there sometimes that we might be at capacity? Yes, it is a possibility. We have some really popular programs like Florence, Italy, that might fill up quickly and you don't want to wait until 2 days before the deadline to apply. I would say that with regards to potentially like a GPA requirement, some of our world partners are a little bit more competitive. Say you are in engineering or technology studies. We have a program at the University College Dublin, and that does require a 3.3 GPA. So you want to definitely make sure that you are not just being in good academic and judicial standing with the institution, but that you also have a competitive GPA to make sure that you apply to our programs and can be considered for them.
Well, I hope as we sort of wrap everything up for this evening, I hope that our enthusiasm and love for study abroad is something that's near and dear to all of our hearts, everybody who is here this evening sharing this advice and insight and wisdom with you. We hope that you take the opportunity to study abroad with Syracuse University. And remember, you know, if you apply as a discovery student, those of us in the admissions office and certainly at Syracuse Abroad will help guide you through that process. And if you're planning on applying as an upperclassman, you will have many opportunities to attend sessions, follow Syracuse Abroad on Instagram. They have a great Instagram account. It makes me want to pack a bag every day when I look at it. But there are other opportunities along the way to find out what's new and exciting about the opportunities that you have here at Syracuse. Okay, and it looks like we have time for one or two more questions. Let's see, is being selected for a study abroad program chosen by how early you submit your application, or what kind of criteria do you look at, Maria?
Yeah, so we actually we review applications on a rolling basis. So as soon as the applications open every week, our international program advisors review them, and it's a combination. So you do have like an essay that you submit, and that kind of helps us understand your reasoning for going abroad. You know, what do you expect to get out of it? Kind of like, what are your intentions with going to our different abroad programs? We also take a look at transcripts and GPA. So it's, I would say it's more of a holistic experience instead of like, oh, you applied, you know, 3 months before and everything was completed. That's not really the only thing. We review these on a daily, almost weekly basis. So I mean, I think the most important thing is that when you apply, make sure you have a complete application. And so that'll be taken into consideration, as well as kind of the additional parts of it, like your statement of purpose. Really, we also take a look at that to make sure that students have given thought to study abroad, you know, and why they want to take on this experience.
Amazing. Well, thank you all again. Our time together this evening is sort of drawing to a close, but we want to thank our many attendees tonight for taking this time out of your evening to join us. We know that you may have more questions along the way, which is exciting. You see all the different ways on the bottom of the screen here, including the Syracuse Abroad website. New opportunities pop up all the time, so be sure to check regularly so that you know everything that is available to you here. Thank you again to our panelists for sharing some of their evening with us. And thanks to each of you for joining us tonight. So we hope that everybody found this to be helpful and exciting. Gives us all something really great to look forward to in the not so very distant future when we're able to do these kinds of travel experiences again. I know I'm ready. I know all of you are too. So thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and stay in touch, okay?